The world's premier rock keyboard player, Jordan Rudess. He plays with both Dream Theater and Liquid Tension Experiment. Now it's time to hear Jordan on his own.
All these projects were intense. It's funny because like whenever I start out doing any musical project, it seems like it's just this thing where you go, oh my God, how am I going to do it? You know, I think it's something that a lot of artists go through, but I definitely experienced that where I'm like, how am I going to ever put this together? It's this, it's that, and I self-torture myself. But then it always works out, which is the reason I guess you keep calling me. I chose the Revolutionary Etude by Chopin as one of my favorite composers, and I actually sat there for a week or two and I practiced it every day and I put the focus time that I wanted into it, and it was really, really a wonderful thing because then I was able to record it, and and at that point it was also a very cool thing to be included with all the other players that were on the record. I mean, we had Wakeman and Emerson and did we have Mraz on that one?
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
Mraz was on there, and just some really, really great keyboard players that it was an honor for me to be, associated with at that time, and also very helpful. All those steps, were so helpful in my career. As far as the ELP thing goes, I mean, that challenge was different than any other challenge because Robert Berry, sent me some tracks and they were pretty much well laid out, but what he didn't have was a lot of the actual harmonies. So I was able to go in there and pick my own sounds and then reharmonize a lot of the stuff. But the main thing while I was doing all this was I was thinking, okay, I'm paying tribute to Emerson. I'm not completely changing it. This has got to really reflect the beauty of his original work. And hopefully, like what I came out with does that. It adds, what I consider to be, the Jordan Rudess style. It's got some of my crazy pitch bending lead stuff on it, and it's got a lot of interesting sounds. And I think at the same time, it also is respectful and true to Keith's original compositions. Liquid Tension Experiment, and that was a great experience. The whole vibe in the studio, the whole working vibe was so interesting because in a way Tony is a very different kind of musician and a different kind of person than John and Mike, but I could relate to both of them. Like Tony was like really a reader. He could read any chart that I put in front of him, and as well he had good ears. And John and Mike are coming from this, we're kind of very technical, where they can, they're good musicians and they can play extremely fast and clean. So I was like, I felt like this kind of middleman or like coordinator in the sense that, I would work with those guys on some riffs or some parts, and then I would go to Tony and I would kind of like, okay, let me write this out for you and we can discuss it, and it was this interesting position. So that band for me was a very, very cool way for me to work with people from really different worlds and to get some of my creative ideas out and get them expressed. At the same time, at this point we know that it turned into my being in Dream Theater, so it was a very valuable project on that level as well. My biggest musical influences are starting with classical music, really. The basic stuff like Bach and Mozart and Beethoven and a lot of Chopin. I used to be very into Chopin. And beyond that, going back to the prog rock scene, Gentle Giant is a huge influence. Pink Floyd is an amazing influence. That whole era of music really affected me in a great way. And now I'm very influenced by electronic music, things like Aphex Twin and Autechre and Boards of Canada. And I also listen to a lot of ethnic music. I find a lot of inspiration there, a lot of Indian music, all kinds of stuff. I'm very excited about my musical career and where it's going to be going to, because I have a lot of things that I want to try. For one, I want to, in the near future, go back to focusing more on just the acoustic piano and create an album that
instead of having tons of different synthesizer colors, has the focus on the composition around the piano sound and maybe with a rhythm section in back of me. I also want to explore what's going on in electronic music a bit, because I'm really turned on by what a lot of the people are doing in that vein, and I think that my progressive rock classical background could merge really nicely with the whole electronic thing. So beyond just going back to my acoustic side, I also want to stretch out and go a little bit further in my synthesizer electronic side and do some cool stuff there. I really want to get into doing some solo concerts that are keyboard concerts, but the keyboard is actually manipulating the video images. So it would be a real multimedia event where I'm playing keyboards, whether it be piano or synthesizer, and the audience is actually seeing me play and also experiencing a full graphic image type show. If I had to start my career again and do something different, I'd probably not play the keyboards, because the keyboards are too heavy. I probably want to play the flute because it's very light, just like an acoustic flute or like a tin whistle or something. Just schlepping around these large keyboards is really hard. But I guess realistically, I could answer it this way, which is that my career actually got started kind of late because I really wasn't interested in a career focus. I was more interested in learning music. And I guess this could be a good thing or a bad thing. Some people's career started much earlier in life, like the band that I play with, Dream Theater. Those guys are like 10 years younger than I am, and they had success when they were very young. So had I opted to kind of be more focused on making money and figuring out how to market my music at a younger age, at this point, maybe we could be sitting in a gold house here or something. If I could play with any musician from the past or the present, I think first, of course, I would go back and choose Jimi Hendrix, because that would be a whole lot of fun, maybe trading some leads with him and picking up on some of the space groove energy. And then, I guess years ago I would have probably said, I would love to play like with Yes or something like that. And and the progressive rock groups like Yes or Genesis or ELP are still some of my favorite bands, and it's still some of my favorite music. But these days, as far as playing with present day people, I think I would choose people like maybe John McLaughlin or Trilok Gurtu, who's a percussionist, who's a fine Indian style drummer percussionist. I would also be interested in playing with some of the electronic music artists that I've been really listening to lately. One of the guys that I really respect is Richard Devine, who is amazing, and hopefully in the future we'll do some work together. And then I've always wanted to play with Steve Vai. Steve is a friend of mine, and one of these days we'll get to play together, and that will be a real thrill. If I had to go on a desert island and just, jam my way, as long as I had batteries there, it would be a Casio VL Tone and a Steinway Grand. And that'd be it.
I'm so into the technology. My background was completely like with classical piano, and I still play a lot of piano, and it's a wonderful headspace. But I also am someone who completely loves to play with all the toys and the technology. In my studio, I have a number of these kind of fully blown out samplers and synthesizers, and they also are capable to do some really great effects, reverbs and delays and ring modulators and vocoding and all that kind of stuff, and I tend to use it all. So I just, I'm someone who's always searching for the ultimate sound, and the tools are just getting better and better. It's just amazing what's out there. You can really do anything with sound. It's kind of like what's happening in movies, where they can make you see anything. We can kind of make you hear anything as well. And I enjoy making my own sounds. I program my own synthesis, on the instruments. I do a lot of my own sampling, and I'm really into it.
It gets very exciting and fun. It's like a real toy shop.
Well, since I'm into technology, it just gets to be more and more fun. So who knows what I'll be doing at that point. I'll probably be singing on my own records too, again at that point, because I'll be able to make my voice sound like whatever I want it to sound like. I'll be doing incredible female vocal parts and incredible bass things and choirs and the whole thing. I can almost do that now with the tools, but I just haven't. That's not particularly the direction. And I'll be, playing concerts from my living room and broadcasting them all over the world in perfect sound, and creating amazing visual experiences on my computers and broadcasting those. And it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. The solo album 10 years from now will be be delivered by holographic internet or something.